The New York Giants are coming off their best season in over a decade, but critical decisions loom for Joe Schoen and company. Tonight, we're going to discuss the two most important decisions. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, stay or nay. You, stay right there. What's up, Giants fans? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Tommy's Takes. As always, I'm your host, Tommy G. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. Please hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me. Like, comment, turn notifications on. As always, do check out my Giants Country team, whether you like podcasts, interviews, articles, tweets, doesn't matter. Giants Country has the best Giants content out right now. We'll get right into it. The offseason is starting to heat up. A lot of news coming out so far the last week or so. Daniel Jones switches his agents, draws some questions, some ire. Then comes out that Jones is looking for north of $40 million, $45 million. Then comes out that the agency that he parted ways with leaked that information out to make him look bad, maybe mad that they're not going to get that big payday, whatever. But then comes out even more recently that he does want that much money and he does want north of $40 million. Is he worth it? We'll get into that after this one. Start Saquon Barkley. Stay or nay. So this is going to be a tough one. Obviously, Saquon, a huge piece to this Giants team, not just offensively, in the locker room, huge character guy. But on the field, Giants were the sixth best rushing attack. Big reason for their 9 wins in the regular season and their playoff win. While Daniel Jones did have a lot of rushing yardage, no question Saquon was the straw that stirred that rushing attack drink. So we're going to go through the stays first. Why Saquon Barkley should stay. Number one reason I think Saquon Barkley should stay on his team is he's simply still an extremely dynamic running back, playmaker. No matter how you slice it, as he heads into his 6th NFL season, he is at minimum a top 5 running back in this league. Rushed for 1,300 yards last season, 10 touchdowns, added another 114 yards, 2 TDs in the playoffs, caught 57 passes for 338 yards, even while not being utilized a lot in the passing attack, which was fascinating that he was still able to be super productive, right? Pass blocking, always a huge knock on Barkley was his pass blocking. He improved on that. And what other critical piece? He stayed healthy. For the first time since his rookie year, 2018, which was also probably his best year, played an entire season. And that's the production you get from a Saquon Barkley when he plays the entire season. And you really can't find that many places. Giants had a tremendous amount of explosive runs. Obviously, everyone knows they love to run out of the 11 personnel. I think it was something like 70 explosive runs, some crazy number. And you got to give Barkley his credit for that, And no question, Giants relied heavily on him to help set up passing opportunities with the run game. He shattered his career high in carries with 295, and that was with sitting out the final game of the season when obviously Giants rested their starters. Barkley's speed, athleticism on full display last season, enormous part of the Giants' offense. Really, their only big play threat other than Darius Slayton was Saquon Barkley. He showed power, driving through the defensive line of the Titans on opening day in that victory that showed you this wasn't going to be the same old season. He drives through, gets the 2-point conversion. He showed shiftiness, multiple highlight jukes, spin, reel moves, whatever you want to call it this season. He did it all. He was a nominee for AP Offensive Player of the Year, made it to the Pro Bowl. And lastly, and this is a big one, whether you like it or not, Saquon Barkley right now is the face of the New York Football Giants. When you see those primetime games and that marquee is up there, yeah, Jones started to get on there at the end of the year, but it's always been Saquon Barkley. When you go to MetLife and you're in the stands and you're looking up, you see a lot of 2-6 jerseys out there. So that's a big one. So his departure would not only leave a hole on the field when it comes to dynamic running back plays and jukes and spins and explosive plays, you have a gaping hole in the locker room because you just lost the face of your franchise. Now, it doesn't mean you force a contract to him, but those are some of the stays, right? He's dynamic running back. He could do it all. Speed, athleticism, power. He could catch the ball. He could pass block. He stayed healthy, right? AP Comeback Player of the Year nominee, Pro Bowl. Like, he was recognized by his peers. And he's the face of this team. Plain and simple, he's the face of this football team. And one last one I want to throw in. A Saquon Barkley is huge for a Daniel Jones. He's been huge in Daniel Jones' progression last season. And it's no surprise that in his first full season in the last 3 years, Barkley, that Jones had his best season. So these two guys go together. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But for 26, those are my stays. Now, we'll get to the nays. So, why I think the Giants should let Barkley walk. Word has already come out that Joe Schoen said, I'm not tagging Saquon Barkley. I'm not doing the $10 million. Not a good sign right out the gate when you hear that. But can you really blame Joe Schoen? Paying a running back $13 to $14 million a year when you're still in a rebuild and you still have a tremendous amount of holes is not the best distribution of assets. Flatly, it's just not. Right? Let's look at some historical examples. Derrick Henry signs a 4-year, $50 million deal with the Titans, right? Gets hurt right away, misses half the 2021 season. Panthers sign McCaffrey to a huge deal. What happens? They can't wait to ship him out of town after that big deal. Even going back as far back as a Todd Gurley. Look at the last 9 Super Bowl winning teams. The highest any of those running backs were paid on a team was $2.5 million per season. So all the data, all the historical facts tell you, do not pay a running back that amount of money. You're not going to get that return on investment. Whether he gets hurt, whether he takes up too much of the cap, whether you start to pass it more. This is a passing league. When you pay a running back that much, that's a luxury. That tells your fan base, hey, we're this close to a Super Bowl. We're a running back away from a Super Bowl. So if you're going to pay him that much, you're basically going all in. And I don't think this Giants team just yet is ready to go all in. And you also have to factor in Saquon's injury history. He played just 15 games combined in 2020 and 2021. Obviously had the ACL injury, not his fault, devastating. But when you want to sign a 25-year-old running back and you want to give him $13, $14 million a year, I mean, let's be honest, that's risky. That's not an easy move to do. That's not an easy move to say, hey, we need to improve the interior offensive line. We need to improve depth on the defensive line. We need another corner. We need a middle linebacker. But we're going to spend $14 million a year on this running back. So that's a tough one. If Barkley is back, the best thing is you can get him at a cheaper value. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if the two sides could get there. Barkley said really not too concerned about resetting the running back market. But then also he was asked, how would you feel if you were tagged? And he says, I don't think anybody would feel good about that. So that might be a big reason why Joe Schoen said, hey, we're not going to do the tag. He probably already sees the writing on the wall. Barkley does not want to be tagged. And that's going to hurt these contract talks. It really is. So I don't think they tag him. He doesn't want to be tagged. Joe Schoen doesn't want to tag him. And now that's a big name. Already having stress on the contract negotiations. Already saying the tag's not going to happen, right? And you're also hearing, and again, a lot of this stuff is allegedly, a lot of this stuff is posturing. You're also hearing Joe Schoen just doesn't want to go that high for a running back. They, I believe, offered him $11.5, $12 million during the season. He was comfortable with that, Joe Schoen. Barkley wasn't. I don't see them budging off of that. I really don't. And how far will the Giants be willing to go for a running back? Even one that comes with all the intangibles and the positivity that Barkley brings. Honestly, if they want him back, it's going to be at their price. And I don't think he's going to settle for that. I think some team's going to give him a big bag. I think some team's going to sweep him off his feet. And you know what? Good for him. This doesn't have to be a negative situation for Giants fans. This doesn't have to be a negative situation for Joe Schoen. Barkley has contributed a lot in his career here, first and foremost. And let him go get his money. This is not a sad situation. My opinion is Barkley should walk. I don't think the Giants are in a position to pay a running back that much money. You never want to manage money for a team or, manage pockets. And, of course, there's different ways where you could alter the cap and you could make it happen. But is that something you want to do if you're Joe Schoen? Do you want to start kicking money back, right? Do you want to start adding void years a la Howie Roseman? Let's see how he handles that this offseason with all those Eagle free agents. So I don't think it happens with Barkley for the above-mentioned reasons. I think he gets a lot of money elsewhere. I don't think it fits the Giants' plans. So that's going to be a nay for me. It's a tough nay. Obviously, homegrown, number 2 pick, rookie of the year. But hey, if he does go out like this, he went out on a tremendous season got his first playoff win as a Giant, and you wish him best of luck. But for team building, for roster building, think the Giants might need to move on there. So, all right. Ready? Daniel Jones, stay or nay? Whew. So much talk about this topic. Obviously Daniel Jones is the lightning rod. And it's funny, the biggest unrestricted free agent for the Giants comes at the game's most important position. Not an easy decision by any stretch of the imagination for Joe Schoen. Jones comes on fast as a rookie, comes within 4 touchdowns of breaking the rookie passing touchdown record. Unfortunately, his season was hampered by a couple of injuries and a lot of turnovers. The following 2 seasons are essentially a wash under Joe Judge, Jason Garrett. Probably the worst combination of offensive coaches you could have put together for Daniel Jones. Really hurt his production. He had his own injuries, right? He had the concussion. He had the neck injury. Saquon was injured those 2 years. Didn't have him to back him up and have that safety valve. So those 2 years really almost like you throw it out. Unfortunately, you don't, but you do. So among many surprises, though, heading into 2022, was a new and improved Daniel Jones that we would see, right? His passing production was still low, especially in a passing league. He left some to be desired. But when you look at it, career high in passer rating, completion percentage, rushing yards, rushing TDs, career low in interception percentage, right? 5 come from behind victories, 9 victories in the regular season, 1 in the postseason. And that 1 postseason victory, the first in the decade for the Giants, he was immaculate. He threw for over 300 yards, rushed for over 70 yards, multiple touchdowns. He was phenomenal. So you could start to see now where this gets complicated. Solid in his rookie year. Next 2 years, you don't know what to take from it, what was real, what wasn't. And then he had a solid season in 2022. But it wasn't a groundbreaking season, right? He didn't throw for 4,000 yards. He didn't throw for 30 touchdowns. I think that complicates it also. But now we'll get into the nays here. The stays. This is a big stay for me. You had Daniel Jones the last 2 seasons under Jason Garrett, who couldn't even get a college coaching job when he left. Joe Judge, who was lucky to get a position coaching job back at New England with Bill Belichick. You had Jones playing with a bottom 10 offensive line, no number 1 wide receiver, not even close. Injuries to his best offensive player in Barkley. So common sense would tell you, with an improved roster around Daniel Jones, you're going to see an improved player. You're going to see him continue to progress. Even the staunchest anti-Jones fan will admit, what was around Jones his first 3 seasons was not a constructive development plan, would not lead you to say, okay, we did everything we could for this quarterback. Matter of fact, John Mara said the complete opposite. We've done everything we could to screw this kid up. So, 3 different head coaches, 4 offensive coordinators. I mean, you can go on and on and on and on, but you've seen it this year with better coaching, with a healthy Saquon Barkley, with an improved offensive game plan that catered to the team needs, not just Jones. He was a much, much better quarterback, right? What complicates this stay a little bit more is the offensive line and wide receiver group still struggled, and Jones still was able to put up a career year. For those that say, hey, just because you improve the team doesn't mean he's going to improve. Well, he did it anyways. So he's definitely going to do it if you put a good team around him. So that's a big stay for me. If you can get Daniel Jones under contract, build this roster up around him, continue to build, he is going to continue to get better. Now, is that top 3, top 5, top 10? We have no idea until it happens. But a big part of why Daniel Jones should stay is he is ascending. He is moving up. He has not reached his ceiling. And I know a lot of Giants fans that don't want him to come back for $40 million, don't want him to come back at all. And they say this is him, this is who he is. He's Marcus Mariota. He's Mitchell Trubisky. He's not, because you haven't seen anything yet. You've seen 2 years under terrible coaching with a terrible roster around him. And the first year you get to see a good picture of Daniel Jones in 2022, he played very well. So that's a big, big stay for me. Also, Jones is an offensive coordinator's dream, right? Prototypical size, good speed, pocket breaks down, he can rush for his first downs, 700 yards rushing, 7 TDs, consistently picked up first downs with his legs in big spots. Most elite quarterbacks in the NFL that have shiftiness in the pocket to make something happen, Get paid well, because that's a key attribute for a quarterback. And he showed it last year, and he hadn't showed it early in his career. Early in his career, when the pocket broke down, there were strip fumbles, there were sacks, there was him falling all over himself. You didn't see that this year. And when it comes to running the ball, Jones improved with sliding. He still took some big hits, which you want to see limit those big hits. But he improved with sliding the ball. He showed that clutch gene, right? 5 fourth quarter comebacks. Played some of his best football when the game was late. In Minnesota, tie game, leads the team in a touchdown drive to take the lead, right? Showed he could play clutch. Plays with a reckless abandon, right? Puts his body on the line every single game. You would constantly see his teammates getting pumped up, getting inspired by Jones's play, whether he was stiff-arming someone, lowering his shoulder. That is big. When you want to say that about Daniel Jones, well, he only had 15 passing touchdowns, and he only did this. He's a leader of men out there, and you've seen that offense rally around him. Obviously, Barkley is the star of the show on offense, but you've seen the teammates rally around Jones, including Saquon Barkley. That's because he puts it all out there. So let's just recap why I think Daniel Jones should stay. One, you haven't seen the best of him yet. I feel like he's going to be a late bloomer due to that poor development that was around him. You have not seen the best of Daniel Jones. Two, he's an offensive coordinator's dream. Prototypical size and speed, can run the ball, can throw the ball, pretty strong arm, can make most of the throws on the field, right? You also have the fact that he inspires his teammates with his play. He's as tough as they come. He's clutch, come from behind victories. He plays some of his best ball when the game's on the line, and he's improved. He's improved in turnovers. He's improved with pocket presence. He's improved with running the ball, and he's going to continue to improve. So when you want to put a number on that quarterback, don't put that number just for what you've seen the first 3 years. And I know some people say, well, that's not tangible, and, you should pay him for what he's done. I get that. I totally get that. But in this case, it's special because of how bad the structure was around Daniel Jones. So those are the stays. Now, we'll get to the nays. And first and foremost, let's get the big one out of the way. Like I said, Daniel Jones changed his agents after a bumpy start to negotiations. Report out there, Jones was looking for $45 million. Then the report said that was leaked by his salty former agents. Then a report saying, yes, that is what he wants. Who knows where the truth lies there? Like I said, this is a tough time of year. But my question is this, and this is a big nay. Can the Giants bring back Daniel Jones for $32 million a year on a tag or $38 million a year AAV on a long term and still build around him? Because a big part of my stay was he's going to improve as this team improves. He's going to get better as the roster gets better. Can that happen, though? Can Joe Schoen continue to improve this roster, dedicating such a large nut of the cap to the quarterback, right? Giants are fourth in cap space, but you got a ton of in-house needs. You have Saquon Barkley. And in terms of the contract, you have to ask yourself, are the New York Giants ready right now to pay a quarterback $35, $40 million a year? And that's a very valid question, and that could be an A because they might not be. I don't believe the team is close to a Super Bowl. I think they're about another year or so away. They surprised everyone last season, but evidence in the divisional game, they're still pretty far off from the elite talent. And, Jones could be looking at coming back with a big bag of money, but no Saquon Barkley and minimal upgrades on the offensive side of the ball. So that's a big nay. Can Joe Schoen bring him back and improve that roster? Has to happen. It can't be one or the other. Here's the next one. Passing production. Major question mark for Jones' first 3 seasons. Even in his career year that we just witnessed, still only 3,000 yards passing, 15 touchdowns. He was 15th in passing yards in the NFL, 21st in passing TDs, which is pretty pedestrian numbers in a passing league. Wide receivers struggled to get open. Offensive line struggled. So it's kind of hard to really know where that, the struggle lies. But, you've seen DJ reluctant to take some deep shots or risky shots deep middle of the field. That's got to change. That's something that has to improve. Teams are going to continue to try to take the small stuff away from him, the short stuff. If he doesn't improve deep out and deep middle, has to improve there. Has to get better hitting his receivers in stride deep. That's something he can improve on. Do you really want your franchise quarterback rushing for 700 yards? You want him to get better passing. You want passing to be the focal point. Health-wise has to play a factor here, right? This was the first year in his 4-year career. He played a full season. that has to counter into it. 2020, he had an ankle sprain, rookie year, hamstring. Then he had the neck, head injury versus Dallas last year. Was healthy the year before, excuse me, was healthy this final season, which was big. But, injuries play a factor. And the last big nay here is typically when you have a new regime, they want their own guy, right? And let's be honest, Joe Shane, Dable, Kafka, they inherited Daniel Jones, right? They decided not to pick up the fifth-year option, whether they weren't impressed or they wanted to see more or a combination of both. They didn't pick it up, and it cost them a lot of money if they're going to re-sign him now. That was a $22 million option. So this regime may still have their heart set on finding a new quarterback, flat out, to develop into their system, get the 5 years of manageable contracts out of that quarterback. That still could be a big nay when it comes to bringing back Daniel Jones. So that's stay, that's nay. I want to know what I think. I'm going to go with stay for Jones. I think he showed enough last season to show that he was a late bloomer, that he wasn't developed properly, that he can play better with an improved roster. I think he stays. I think the Giants get it done. I don't think it's going to be the tag. Tag really cripples the cap. I think they bring him back, something 3 years, 110 million, 115 million. He'll come back. He'll keep improving. They'll restructure, cut Leonard Williams. They'll figure something out with Adoree, address Andrew Thomas, get some more cap space, and make it happen. So just to recap, I'm going to go nay, Saquon Barkley, even though it hurts to say, and we're going to go stay Daniel Jones as the future franchise quarterback of the New York Giants. That's it for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for popping in. Appreciate it. Please do hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me. Check out my Giants country team. We'll be back soon. For now, peace.